Hi guys, welcome back to Lives Vivas. I don't know if I'm gonna finish this one because my phone's gonna die, but we're gonna try it. This was the artist Viva Dr. Parker. I hope you're watching, but I think I figured it out and I think I did a good job, but let me know in those comments if I did or didn't. So this was week 7 and the question was, what were the long-term implications of the Congress system? So although let me dive into some historical context really quick. So the Congress of Vienna came to be by the Enlightenment. In the Enlightenment, the thought of Enlightenment really impacted and influenced America and the French Revolution. So we kind of learned a little bit about America last week in its revolution with the Enlightenment, but France kind of takes this thought too far, and they enter this reign of terror, which Napoleon kind of takes the power. And there's a lot of wars, there's a lot of bloodshed. He's pretty much a boss when it comes to war and conquering. He's my hero. Just kidding. But people, they don't like him. Like, everyone's upset. No one wants this. And so once they defeat Napoleon and he gets sent to this little island, this little jail island where he's stuck forever, they decide to have this Congress in Vienna, to discuss the powers, like where the power was going to go in the world, and like, I don't know, kind of reorder everything. And so they go there and they just start to decide all these things. So although the Congress of Vienna can be seen as the end of the French reign of terror, the implications of the Congress were the beginning of a completely new political system. My 3 implications are the conservative political order, the 1848 revolutions, and the legacy of symmetry. So one of the things that they decided at this Congress of Vienna was the conservative political order. So they wanted to unify Europe around one political system just because it was so complex and crazy in the Enlightenment. So the system, the conservative political system kind of stopped any other revolutions from happening, and it was kind of this, instead of the progressive political movement that they had in the Enlightenment, it kind of switched to this conservative government structure. It suppressed academic freedom and the freedom of the press, and you can really see their morals through this with the Holy Alliance. Here's a quote from the Holy Alliance, and it's, quote, "It reimagined internalization relations as being governed by the same moral order that gives meaning to the Christian life," end quote. So, and it also kind of goes into, it really wanted to protect religion, peace, and justice. So that was kind of the conservative political order. It was really like strict, and they didn't want anyone else believing like everyone had to have one view on everything, and it was very strict and controlling, which people grew to not like. Prince Metternich, an Austrian minister, he lived from 1809 to 1848, and he wants to have some sort of Congress every year just to recenter power and kind of balance everything out. He is a really strong believer in the conservative political order, and he sets up these secret police to spy on the intellectuals of the time period. I think this is in Germany. They would just do all this like cool spy stuff. They would, they wanted to stop the spread of nationalism, and they wanted to stop new political thoughts from entering the world. So they would look in the mail, they would just do a bunch of kind of illegal things. But they were secret police, so it was cool. So after this, in 1848, there were some revolutions happening because people were sick of this. Nobody wanted to be told what to do, what to think, what to say. So people were getting mad. And so the 1848 revolutions were kind of a response to the conservative political order. Lots of young people from the universities, just because universities were kind of like this place of new ideas and, you know, new thoughts and everything, and they were like the younger generation, trying to kind of explore what the world means to them, you know, growing into their own human body. But they kind of really started to take hold of these revolutions, and they kind of formed together, unified together to fight the conservative political order. So it starts in Sicily, and then they kind of move through France and Germany, Italy, and Austria. However, these revolutions do not get rid of the conservative political order. So these people from the universities who wanted freedom, they moved to America. Hashtag best country in the world. I love being American. I'm not gonna say that. So let me see. So the sadly, Stella Kervius, I think, can you say her name? Says, quote, "The Congress system formally ended in 1823 when the great powers stopped meeting regularly. Yet the one block system went on for 3 decades. 3. So in 1848, obviously they weren't meeting as a Congress anymore, but there was still a lot of this control happening and just people not wanting anyone else to have new ideas or opinions or nationalism. So people were getting upset and they were starting to revolt, especially since it wasn't like the law and order during 1848. So the Turners, I think I'm saying that right, was a group started by Friedrich Ludwig Jahn, and they were really involved in the national political movement. But it's kind of interesting. They were actually gymnasts. They were fundamentally gymnasts. That was kind of their group, as gymnasts. But they whatever, they were really involved in politics. So that's kind of cool and weird. I don't know. Be a gymnast if you want to be a politician. And again, they were all, you know, young university students, and they were fighting for their future. So our third and final implication of the Congress systems is the legacy of symmetry. So this legacy of symmetry is still, we can still see this today in our own politics. Every year we can see it actually, just global politics actually, not even just the United States or anything like that. So summit is the diplomacy at the highest levels. So this is just, it's more about the higher, you know, powers like presidents and kings getting together to work on some stuff and talk about things versus ambassadors or diplomats. So yeah, they're just the highest world leaders meeting to discuss the world problems and making treaties, and instead of sending ambassadors. So before the Vienna Congress, they often would send, you know, low-level ambassadors to kind of represent their country to different countries. And this worked, but there was also a lot of misrepresentation on behalf of the higher powers, such as like the president or, you know, kings and queens, empresses, whatever. You know, it was just a lot of misrepresentation. A lot of times these ambassadors had their own personal agendas to kind of get across, or they weren't representing their country very well. And it came to like a bunch of conflict and mess. So, but now after that, now we have this kind of Congress where the high leaders can come together and they can talk about stuff and bounce stuff off of each other. So the legacy that this symmetry left is it helps with national laws in the League of Nations. Also, G7. I don't know if you guys have heard of this, but G7's pretty lit. Sounds like that hamster movie. I forgot what that one's called. G-Force. G-Force? I think. G7. New hamster movie. But it's formed of 7 countries, and it's where 7 countries' leaders, they just come together once a year and they discuss world problems. So right now, these 7 countries are France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the United States of America, Canada, and the UK. So they all come together and they focus on issues. They first started in the 1970s when we had the oil problems and a lot of countries were struggling economically. And so kind of all the countries came together and were bouncing stuff off of each other to try to fix the problems of the world. So the G7 is kind of more focused on humanitarian and political issues. And there's also the G20, which is formed up of 20 countries, and they focus more on the economic issues of this world. So very interesting, very, very interesting. John R. Taylor Jr., who is a professor, says, quote, "As supporters of the hypothesis that historical events display," I can't read what I wrote, "Sociality," I don't know what that says, "that if studied that and understand can improve decisions about the future. We are always trying to place current events in a historical context," end quote. So we are always, trying to look to the past to make future decisions, and this is part of the legacy of the Symmetry that kind of helps us do this. And also just looking back at the revolutions and just seeing how those affected people and, what people like and don't like, how you're not going to get a revolt of people and how you are going to get a revolt of people. What's it called? I forgot the word, whatever. So, but it's just a great way to look to the past, to see the future, make good decisions when it concerns our future, especially with our world politics and world leaders. So, although we tend to see the Congress of Vienna to be the end of the French Reign of Terror, the implications of the Congress were the beginning of a completely new political system. My 3 implications are the conservative political order, the 1848 revolutions, and the legacy of symmetry. Thank you.